Come on in, sit back and relax. You're listening to episode 288 of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guest for this episode was a doubleheader. We had two guests, Edin Ovadia, CEO of Finny AI, and Ritik Malhotra, CEO of Savvy Wealth. And I think I told the story in the episode, but just in case I didn't, these are two young CEOs of startups that I had the pleasure of moderating on a panel at the Future Proof Citywide Conference in Miami Beach in March. And when we came off stage, we just started chatting and we didn't leave for like half an hour, 45 minutes, just talking about AI tools, technology, apps, things that we're using to help us organize our day as busy executives. And I thought this would be a great podcast. And here we are. So we're talking about the same thing. We're going to be sharing, each one of the guests and myself will be sharing some apps, AI apps for organizing meetings, scheduling meetings, reading email, writing articles, anything you could possibly think that AI was doing, making reservations. We're going to talk about them and share some interesting ideas. And all of these ideas, I think, really boil down to how to make your life more efficient. And here at Ezra Group, we do that all the time, but just at a bigger scale. We're looking to make organizations, RIAs, broker dealers more efficient. And believe me, we've seen literally hundreds of tech stacks of RIAs and broker dealers, and most of them are just loaded down with tech debt. Let's face it, tech debt can act like an anchor holding down your firm's efficiency and ability to scale. So if you want to free your firm for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk to our website, ezragroup.com, and click the golden Contact Us button on the homepage. The experienced team at Ezra Group can evaluate your current tech ecosystem, deliver targeted recommendations, optimize your existing systems and operations, or you can sign up for our special 60-day tech stack reboot. We can come in and help you reinvigorate your entire ecosystem for one fixed price. You can find out more about that by going to ezragroup.com. Ezra Group just makes RIA tech stacks better. All right, standard housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Go to our sponsor's website, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you are a software vendor in the wealth tech space, go to our vendor portal, ezragroup.com/register, and register your product with our integration portal so you can update the data we have on your current integrations so your Ezra Group Wealth Tech integration score will always be up to date. Now, let's kick this thing off. All right, this is going to be a fun episode of the podcast. We're going to be talking about AI productivity tools with two leaders in the industry. I'm happy to introduce Edin Ovadia, CEO of Finny AI. Hey, Edin, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be talking about this.
And Ritik Malhotra, CEO of Savvy Wealth. Ritik, hey, man.
Good to be here. Super excited.
This is fun. So I prepped the audience already about our time at the Future Proof. So let's just dive in. Edin, you go first. Let's just throw out some. We're talking about AI productivity tools. You guys are busy CEOs of startup software companies. You don't have a lot of time. You have a lot of responsibilities. What are some of the tools, AI productivity tools you're using to save time and make yourself more productive?
Yeah. So this is something that I think we all got excited about. I weirdly obsess over. I'd like to look at what I'm spending my hours on every week and just optimize it. And so the first thing that I got started with, I dipped my toes in all these AI productivity tools. And I think the thing that started this conversation was when I mentioned I had an AI scheduling assistant. And so I use this one called Blockit. It's essentially integrated with my email. So I use Outlook, but it works for, I think, Gmail or whatever else. And I can just CC it in conversations that I'm looking to schedule something with. And so I can say, hey, Blockit, I'm trying to meet with Ritik and Craig. Can you suggest some times that work for next week? And it can automatically reply. It has full context on things like time zones. And anyways, it's just been a massive, massive time saver when I found myself spending 30 minutes every day just trying to, sync up schedules and, book some meetings.
That is super helpful. Yeah, that's the first thing we started talking about, and then we couldn't stop. We were just sitting in the tent just talking, and because I've used things like not Google. There was another funny named website where you can do multiple people in a meeting, and you send them out, and everyone goes into the calendar and puts their time in. But it's a little clunky, and everyone doesn't seem to like it.
Yep.
So any tool that can help, I think, is interesting.
It's I think that tool might have been called Doodle.
Right,
Yes,
Doodle. Yes,
I
yes.
know
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
What's also funny is I also I wrote down Block It right after you had mentioned it, and so I tried. I'm on the trial right now, and it's actually quite good. I think seeing all the flavors of AI schedulers over the years, this one is actually by far the most accurate, figures things out. It's great, great recommendation.
Yeah, and just as a disclaimer, we don't have any investments in any of these companies.
I wish I did.
We're just referring them. All right, so Block It for AI scheduling assistance.
Yep.
Okay, so Riddick, what's one of your favorite your go-tos for time savers AI tools?
I really like one called Fixer, and that's spelled Fyxer.
Hmm,
And so Fixer AI, it's one of the email productivity tools, and there's really two things it does well. The first is that for all of my email that comes in, I use the Google Gmail platform, but it works with Outlook as well. It analyzes it and actually automatically labels it. So it's something that it detects as, hey, you should, this is a email you need to respond to, or this is an FYI, or just a notification or marketing. And then based on the labels, if it's an email that is something that I need to respond to, it will automatically draft a response and just keep it in the Gmail draft so you can just see it right when you're in your workflow. And the the labeling is spectacular. It's actually very accurate. And the drafts are actually incredible. I mean, they sound like what I would write, and they claim that 60% of the drafts are ready to go out of the box. The other 40% is a small tweak that you need to make. I'd say that's roughly accurate. It really has made the, rapid emailing and quick responses way faster for me. So huge productivity gain.
that's
Oh,
impressive. I've been looking for that for quite some time and try to figure out how to automate and organize emails because as we all know, we're all overwhelmed with emails.
Craig, you were telling me you actually built your own version of Fixer yourself that I've now gone out and built. So yeah, that was one of the most helpful tips. I don't know if you want to share the hack that you shared with me.
Yeah, so what I did was I had heard about an AI assistant that monitors what you're doing or monitors all your inbound emails and then replies to them. And I thought, well, we record everything here at Ezra Group. We use Fathom, which is a Zoom plugin, to record every call, and it plugs into your calendar, so it automatically joins every call. And then I thought, well, I was manually going into Fathom and then copying the transcript out into Claude, and then saying, write me an email. So I thought, well, Zapier can do this. So I went to Zapier, and and Claude has a plugin. You got to pay for it. It's the paid version of Claude to get to the APIs, and the paid version of Fathom, I imagine, and then Zapier. So it can monitor Fathom whenever a new Fathom is created. I have it export the transcript and then send it to Claude with a custom prompt that I wrote to write an email back to the prospect with summarize what we talked about, all the action items, follow-ups, and then put it into the draft folder of my email, my Outlook. And it does it. So at the end of the day, I've got 5 or 6 emails all ready to go that as you mentioned, Riddick, they're 80% done or 60% done. So at least I've got an outline and also another way not to forget to reply to people. So now, what did you take? You did your own, and what did you build that in?
So I spend most of my days doing sales. So I do sometimes up to 15 sales calls a day, and they're back to back stacked. And so I took your exact idea. Have my own Firefly that is on all my demos. But the cool thing is I was able to give, well, I use ChatGPT. So I was able to give, I think I use 4.5, and I give it my marketing deck. I give it some notes about what Finney does and basically give it enough context that it's able to draft follow-up emails, but with full context on what my company actually does. And so it takes the notes, it takes the next action items, and it does a really good job. It'll say, oh, I even mentioned, we addressed some questions here. Please see attached the deck. On page 11, it can also answer these questions. And it's just honestly, at the end of the day, I might have like 15 emails I can just blast off with some minor tweaks. And it easily saves me like 2 or 3 hours a day. It's pretty incredible to the point where I have two other co-founders who I was bragging about this to. And they asked me to make this for them too. And so I've made them their own little draft emailer as well now for their use cases. It's been great.
Do you limit it? Do you filter it in Zapier where you say only these emails, or like we also we do we're a little different obviously company than you are. So half my calls during the day are existing clients, projects we're working on for them, or other things. So I don't need to respond to every single thing. So how do you filter that out?
Yeah, so I have it set. I have a specific type of event for demos, and it only filters on the event type. And so
Mm,
I added like a Calendly like filtering. And so I think I filtered on the title. So all of my demos will have like a word demo, for example, in the title. And so I'll have Zapier filter on the
mm,
title and then only draft for those follow-ups. Um, and and so that's so I have, and now I've built other assistants for other use cases, but it's not main one is my sales assistant. And I think I've actually more or less perfected the productivity on the sales funnel at this point because I have my Calendly send out 4 hours before the demo an actual link to a pre-recorded demo. I have follow-ups now automated. The meetings are booked directly through Calendly, and so it's a
mm.
pretty well-oiled machine at this point.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, so how do you feel about that, Riddick? You're are you happy with Fixer, or do you have other email tools you're using?
I'm actually happy with Fixer, but that's probably because the use case for that is probably slightly different. I think I have less of the I need a meeting recorded and transcribed and notes taken for me workflow, and then do something with that. And actually, not because there's not a lot of meetings. I mean, there's the calendar's packed with meetings, but I actually realized for me, I absorb information if I'm the one taking notes, and so unfortunately, the AI transcription and note taking and all of that stuff is actually not a feature, and it's more of a bug for me particularly because then I actually am not absorbing the information. So unfortunately, I've excluded myself from that
Mm.
specific workflow. Uh, but I would love to have built something like that if I could be okay with a transcriber sitting on the call with me.
Yeah, we always have our transcribers, and we've been on calls where there's three people and four transcribers and four note takers or five note takers. So the note takers sometimes
There's
outnumber the people.
There is one, as I was saying this, there's one exception to this. CRISP is spelled KRISP, is a tool that effectively is a noise canceling tool. So if I'm speaking, it will cancel out all the noise in the background if there's any ambient noise, echoes or street noise, and then it can do the same in the reverse as well. So if someone else is speaking and for me to listen to them on a call, it'll do the same. So that's great. It really kind of adds this more kind of crystal audio effect if you turn it on. I have it for this call, but that's particularly because I'm in a room that doesn't need it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it can also do transcription and summarization and all of that, which I've disabled particularly because I actually like taking notes because that helps me just remember things. So it's a
Mhm.
two in one.
There you go. Yeah, I've actually heard of Chris, thinking about using it for podcasting, but it didn't seem like it was providing that much benefit because people's microphones are so much better now,
Mhm.
I think, than even just a couple of years ago. And at least for our podcasts, I find that you don't want the audio to be too good because then it sounds a little overly produced. So I kind of like the feeling of, hey, we're just calling in, you're just listening in on a conversation. It's not a production that we're presenting this and forcing down your throat. But I guess everyone's different. If you're doing something more formal, than having something that would cancel out the noise better than your whatever systems you have seems like a valuable tool.
Spot on. Yeah, if you have better
Yeah.
hardware or if the room is good, you don't need it. The thing I find useful is if I'm taking notes, it helps me just like prevent the keyboard clacking noise, which can be very annoying to the
Oh yeah.
other end.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's not a problem if you have note takers on the call. So I guess it's all circular at the end of the day.
But I still take notes. I use Evernote, which I've used for over 10 years. And I still type, even though we've got three note takers on this call, I've got a backup transcription. I still take notes because I like to see what we're talking about. And I also use Otter on my phone even though I've got Fathom and I'm Zoom recording, because with Otter, I can see it live. So sometimes I'm writing, if I'm in a big meeting with a bunch of people and people are talking, I'm taking notes. I forget, I miss what they just said. I can scroll back in Otter a couple minutes and see, oh, that's what they were talking about.
You actually, I realized when we were filming that panel, Future Proof, I noticed you had on your phone the transcription going, and a couple of times you had scrolled up to reference back to when you said, and I thought that was so cool. I'd never seen someone do that live.
Yes, because there's so much happening, and I'm trying to think. I'm trying to make you guys sound good. I'm trying to remember what the questions were, and then you said something, and then I want to go back to it. Sometimes, the context or the specific wording someone uses, I want to say it exactly the way they said it. So having the Otter transcript helps, and plus I use that for my summary later.
So I actually have a question for both of you, because there's one part that I have not been able to productize at all. I'm on a Mac. I use my Notes app, the Notes app from the Mac, for all of my meeting notes. And this is on top of my Fireflies, my Zoom notes, and everything else. But similar to both of you, I just like to have my own separate notes to remember the important stuff and just have that quickly accessible. And so every day for every meeting, I title of the notes, the name of the person I'm meeting with, and then I just take those notes there. Now I probably have, if I go into my notes, I have 2,000 notes. And it's just so much data sitting there, and it's not optimized at all. And it's getting a little slow, because now that I've had to search back to someone that I spoke to, December 2023, it'll take a bit of time to load, and it's not super reliable. So what are you guys doing for your own notes?
Good.
So for work, I use Google Docs for all my notes, but they're also organized exactly like yours, which is unorganized. They're sitting in the, My Drive folder. And actually, I'm okay with that, because I realized the way that I recall notes is actually there's a keyword. Usually it's the person or whatnot. So I usually do just have the name of the person I was talking to, or the meeting name, and I can always just search it up. So that's good enough for me as a lookup. For personal notes, I also do Apple Notes, which is, again, the same problem. But I've just gotten used to, the lookup strategy is less so organization in a file folder structure and more just keyword. And so it's good enough for that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a reason that I haven't left this method, and I've been doing it for 2+ years, but I'm just wondering, I don't know, Craig, you have a better solution for me?
I use Evernote, and I have 6,250 notes. I put everything in here. Like I said, every client meeting, I put in here, and I have a separate notebook for each category. So for marketing meetings, I have a marketing category. For clients, I have a client category. For prospects, I have a prospect category. I have or rather notebooks. I have a separate notebook for the automated. One of the things that my Zapier does, besides create an email draft, is create an Evernote summary of it as well, because the email the email is directed to the client, but the Evernote summary is for me. So I have two different prompts that create those summaries. So Evernote will have a new note for every single meeting I have. And I have a separate notebook for that. So I categorize them by notebooks. I also categorize them with tags. So you can tag every one of your notes in Evernote, and that helps as well. So you can tag the subject, the topic, or the client. I usually do client names as well. And I also will copy and paste them into the CRM. I haven't found a way to feed it directly from. The next step is to get from Zapier into the right. To get to the link, Zapier can create a new note, but making sure that it's going to the right contact is a little tricky at the moment with the CRM we're using.
Interesting. I don't know if it could work for this, but one thing that I've seen work better than Zapier in some cases is Gumloop. Have either of you guys looked at Gumloop?
I've never heard of it.
Okay,
Gumloop?
so let me be the first person to talk to you guys about this, and it will change your life. Not paid to say this. They're a YC company from the batch right before me, and so I came across them relatively early, and now they're the hottest new thing, I think, in San Francisco for productivity tools. What I like to think of it as if Zapier and OpenAI had a baby. There's probably more eloquent ways of saying that, but it's essentially like an AI-based IDE that allows you to actually create nodes of productivity. And so what you can do, and what I do for a lot of internal processes within my company, I'll be able to say, look at I'll tell you, I actually have one that links my HubSpot to CRM, sorry, to Stripe, let's just say billing tracker. And what I'm able to say is every day, look at the calls that I had, look at the onboardings that were booked. The Gumloop is able to actually like read and write directly to Google Sheets. It's able to, you can say like ask AI notes, and so you can actually give it like smart filtering. It's not just like filter on specific fixed data, but it can say, hey, output this based off of, and give it actually a prompt. And so imagine if in Zapier you can actually use prompts and not just like fixed inputs and outputs. And that's what it does. And I have, yeah, so many of my just like processes running every single day through Gumloop. It's pretty incredible.
Wait, so give me a process that you're running through Gumloop specifically.
So I'll tell you one thing that I've seen them do really well, and I haven't actually implemented this yet, but I know someone that has. Is it'll read through all of your support tickets every single day, summarize them into 3 or 4 or 5 categories, rate them in terms of priority and frequency, and then compile them over time. And so at the end of the day, you can or at the end of the week, you can say, these are the 5 categories you need to focus on in terms of priority or in terms of support and volume. And it's just a really quick way of structuring all the unstructured support tickets that come in.
That's a good idea. I can see that one. And they have a bunch of categories before you get started: web scraping, social media listening, SEO and marketing, content generation, and sales. Gather info for outbound sales emails.
Yep. I know someone else that has it read their calendar the day before and send them a summary note of every meeting they have. Look up the person they're meeting with for relevant information and look up their domain, and so they can say, oh, this is at a big company, company size, company info, background of the person, context of the meeting, because they can read through your inbox too and send like a meeting summary. So that's a pretty cool thing you can do also.
Whoa, hold a second. What did you just say? So it can go into my calendar in Outlook for everything tomorrow and give me a summary of everyone I'm meeting with and read my inbox for all the context emails we send and summarize each person we're meeting with. That's Gumloop can do that. Yeah.
Yep. It's pretty cool. It requires you to build it, right? So it's not like its own productivity tool. You have to go out and build your own. It's similar to Zapier, I would say, but I don't know, it's a lot smarter and a lot more flexible.
Indeed. Well, that's a huge benefit. I certainly could use that. Although I am kind of wedded to Zapier. And one other thing about using Zapier, by the way, I signed up for the paid version, but with all, you have more meetings than I have, and I have a lot of meetings. But I've already run out of space. Like I'm over my limit. Like I got messages from Zapier. You've used up all your I forget what they call it. You got to upgrade. So when every call and every email is getting zapped and up and reviewed, it's a lot of good content, but then you're now paying more to support that.
Yep. Yep. What Zapier does well is they have like thousands of integrations already, and so it talks nicely to everything. With Gumloop, you're often having to like output into like a Google Sheet as the common or something like that as like the common knowledge transfer, and then build it out.
Yeah, it's just there's so many options, and we also use Zapier because we have a marketing platform like HubSpot. It's called SharpSpring because everything has to have 2 names, which was just bought by Constant Contact.
Oh yeah.
But it's the same type of platform where you've got a CRM with outbound mail campaigns, and it's got a very complicated engine that you can build complex campaigns, what ifs, if thens, this much time, drip campaigns, and it tracks every connection. But we have a lot of Zapiers that integrate to it. And so now I was talking to our developers, I'm like, I need this documented. Because now Zapier is now a key part of our internal processes. Because when someone signs up for a newsletter, it gets created a contact. When we have a vendor portal for our wealth tech integration scores, when you register, it creates you as a contact in our CRM, which is outside of WordPress, and so all this stuff is talking. But that loop and that connection is now another key man, a key part. Now Zapier is a key part of our whole infrastructure. So that creates some risk.
One thing that I found is I think Zapier is excellent as kind of like a general purpose tool, like just to connect to different systems that either have not great APIs or non-existent APIs. And I think one that we use extensively is Clay. So Clay, especially good on go-to-market, right? So for all of these types of things, if a new person signs up as an inbound lead, then basically a Clay automation's automatically run, and the amount of enrichment that you can do is far smarter because it's so much more purpose-driven. And so you can actually be super smart about, okay, use these different kind of vendors to actually do the enrichment for these different categories of data we want. And then we can take all of that, happens in kind of waterfalls, different vendors, and then pipes it all into the CRM for whomever, the marketing sales team, to automatically action on afterwards. So found that to actually work really well.
And Riddick, when we spoke last, you also were using Simple AI, right? For the phone calls. I haven't actually, even though I know the founder, I haven't actually used it a lot. Is that something you're still using?
I still use it. So that's actually on the personal end of the spectrum. So just for context, it's Simple AI is I think they have two business models. One for the personal end is effectively an AI caller. So they'll call it a restaurant to make a reservation because you have to call someone to do that. And they'll effectively be the voice agent that actually goes back and forth and has a conversation to do that. That's actually my most popular use case for it. I've done that a number of times. Or, hey, I need to change my reservation or cancel it. That's been the most popular one. And then they also have, I think, a B2B model where you can actually integrate into their voice AI agent technology if you want it for some business process use case as well.
Yeah, I was getting excited because I'm planning a trip to Tokyo, but to make the reservations, you have to speak the language, and I obviously don't. And so you can actually have it call up a restaurant and request a reservation in any language at any time, even. So even though it only opens when I'm sleeping, I can have it call. And so that was pretty excited about that use case.
Yeah,
That
no,
does seem
exactly.
pretty cool.
It works well. And before, actually, I remember having to have like a translator service. They charge you like $2 a minute or something, and they're on the call, they're translating. Like it's way more clunky that way. I haven't tried it for the translation use case yet, so I'm curious how well it works. But I'd imagine the language models are generally good at translation, so it might work well.
Can it call like Comcast for me and deal with my cable company or I'm dealing with Verizon, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Can it call them and
Yeah.
can it handle stuff for me?
Yeah, so one case that I know people really like it for is like airlines and like just waiting on hold and like navigating
Yeah.
through that, you know, phone menu for you until you actually get to a live agent, and so you can just have it wait there for you.
Oh, there's an iPhone version, Simple AI Personal Assistant. I'm gonna try that. That is cool. Are you using Clay, Eden?
So I'm not using Clay because Finny does a lot of what Clay does for financial advisors, obviously like in terms of sales and AI automations. And the benefit of owning Finny is that I have full access to our database as well, and so I don't need to. So when I want to prospect or do any sales ourselves,
Bonus.
we can just have them access our database, and so we use all the same data sources as Clay. We just own them internally and store them internally, and so all the enrichments you see in the waterfall, we work with the vendors directly, license the database, and so I just have that access to that database myself. So the benefit of doing that is I don't need to use Clay.
Yeah, just to give a shout out to our guests, check out Finny AI prospecting tool and Savvy Wealth digital RIA when you get a chance. There'll be links in the show notes for all this and everything we're talking about. I don't know how long we've been talking because we had that break in the middle, that tech break. We did the first half of this podcast on Zoom. Now we're doing the second half on Microsoft Teams, not because we want to, but because of a tech outage. We do use Clay at Ezra Group for research, both on our clients. We work with a lot of RIAs and broker dealers, but also on our Wealth Tech Integration Score, we're looking up vendor software and new vendors that come on space and what their integrations are if they have them on the website. We can pull them down automatically, although it's a little tricky. All right, so if we're going to wrap up in a couple minutes, what are some other scheduling tools or automation tools? I think if you were mentioning an auto labeling of emails, is that something was that Fixer or was that another tool?
Yeah, that's Fixer. So it does both
Okay.
auto labeling of emails and also drafting responses for you to either edit or send directly.
Do you have another option or another idea, another thing you're working on you want to share?
So maybe outside of all these, one of the things that I found is is a unique problem. Is all of these tools are excellent if you're in front of a screen, so whether it's your phone or your computer. And so oftentimes I feel like connecting the offline to online, so to speak, is actually my biggest problem. I'm in between something, I don't have access to
Mhm.
my phone, or I don't want to pull it out. And so I actually found that there's these AI voice recorders or pins. And the one I have yet to try this out. This particular company called Plaud, Plaud, something about all these tools just like weirdly misspelled.
Claude,
But this Plaud, and
not
it's
Claude.
effectively it's not Claude, but it's Plaud,
Claude.
Plaud.
Wow.
You got
Okay.
it. So what you do is you can wear it. You can either wear it around your neck or as a wristwatch, or just clip it on to a pant pocket. And by pressing the button, it'll effectively record whatever audio is around you. So whether you're in a meeting, you can do that with permission, or you can kind of just record into the device itself. And the reason that that's helpful for me particularly is that if I'm in the middle of something and I remember, hey, I need to go do this thing, or hey, I absolutely forgot to respond to this person, but I should put it on my to-do list so I don't forget, a quick voice recording automatically transcribes it using AI, and then effectively can go and link in using all these automation tools like Zapier's of the world to send it directly to my to-do list or put it into my email draft or something like that. And I think that is a very unique AI use case, which I'm testing
Mhm.
out, and hopefully I think I can model my behavior and modify my habits to work around it.
So it's a hardware you have to carry. You have to attach to your microphone.
Yes, you got it.
I'm curious how much of this would be doable with Apple. I don't know if you use an iPhone, but with Apple's new Apple Intelligence, so they're calling. I just got the iPhone 16, so I haven't had a chance to play around with it, but it's supposed to be a step function better than Siri. So I'm wondering, in this situation, I don't know if you have your phone or not, but if you did, saying something like, "Hey, remind me to do X, Y, and Z," add a note to my phone doing whatever it is, and then having a Zapier pick it up from the Notes app or from wherever the location of that reminder is. um, I don't know. I am like super against any new hardware for me. I feel like I tried the Oura Ring, I tried all of these. I didn't end up working out because I just don't wear things consistently. But the thing I have consistently on me is my phone. And so that for me, to the extent that I can like hack my phone to do any of that stuff, that'd be most helpful.
It totally makes sense. And you can certainly go that route. And I think there's even dedicated apps that use OpenAI's Whisper technology and transcription. I have no idea if that's better than the Apple Intelligence one, but you're absolutely right. It's basically, one button, record, and then you can ship it off the transcription to some sort of other system that you have. I realize the problem for me is actually sometimes I just feel awkward pulling out my phone if I'm in the middle of something. And
Mhm.
also the button clicks. So the extra hardware was I guess, the cost that I've incurred
Yeah.
instead. But totally get it. I mean, either one works well.
Yeah, I feel like you're
So
like
so
Inspector Gadget.
yeah. So last round here. I'm assuming we're going to finish this, wrap this up, but I can keep going and going. But we'll have you guys on in 6 more months and see 6 months from now and see what new stuff you have. Yesterday was tax day, and I had a crisis that my accountant couldn't tell me till the last minute that they couldn't finish my taxes. It was Monday evening, like at 5 p.m. And so I had to run around on Tuesday and crank up TurboTax again. I've used it in a couple of years and do my own taxes. And one thing I did last year was sold some crypto. And I found the trying to figure out what your cost basis is for crypto you bought over time and at least 5 years ago is impossible unless you kept very accurate notes. And on one of my accounts, I do have every sale in a spreadsheet, but on my crypto.com account, I didn't. I figured they would track it. But what you get is trying to get a CSV out of them is a pain in the ass. And it finally figured it out, and it only goes back 3 years. And it's hundreds of transactions because if you put it into their crypto wallet, you can get earnings. You can like earn money to like storing crypto there. So every month you've got a transaction for every crypto you've got. So there's hundreds of things you can't figure out. There's a website called Coinly.io with a K, Coinly.io, that I found that I can upload my Crypto.com CSV file, and it kind of made sense of it. It still wasn't complete because it was missing some things, and it's not. They need to Coinly. You got to fix the ability to update manual transactions, and it's very confusing on the website how I can put in cost basis for things you couldn't find. But at least it gave me an overview. and organize it a little better because it's just a mess. So that's my last parting shot on. It's not an AI tool, but for crypto, if you need to do that, and it's too late now for April 15th, but maybe next time you can use that. All right. So Eden, what's your final suggestion for anybody here listening?
Might not be an AI tool, but something that I've seen to help boost my productivity is both the app called Todoist and the Slack Remind Me feature. Are you guys on Slack at all?
Oh my God. So I
Yep.
traded my one email inbox for 37 Slack inbox.
Yeah. So this is what I learned this year. So maybe I'm really late to the game, but if you Slack yourself and you write / remind me, and so I can say, remind me in 3 weeks to follow up with so and so. Remind me to pick up the laundry 2:30 on Friday. And I can say this at any time, and then when that event occurs, it'll Slack me a reminder. And I honestly have not seen a better reminding system where it's flexible. I can put in whatever I want, and it's that quick to set up a reminder, and it's on Slack. And so I use that for customer follow-ups, for personal reminders like picking up the laundry or sending Ubers or ordering food. I actually use the Remind Me feature like 10 times a day, and I find it to be like a huge time saver.
Don't get me started on Slack. It's a nightmare. I'm sorry. I won't get on my soapbox. Yes, use that app. Use that option that Eden mentioned. It'll be great for you. Not for me. All right. So Riddick, your last final thought there.
I was just going to follow up on the Slack one. I basically said, look, it's an inevitability. That's what we use. And so I have all these, I have a Zapier for Slack and a couple other things too, where even just typing in /reminder is too much. And so I just hover on the message. And because if it's someone else asking me, and that's usually the use case, instead of leaving it unread, I'll just click the save button and save or bookmark or whatever they call it. And it'll put in Slack's like bookmark tool. But I have a Zapier that basically, as soon as you click the save, it auto routes it to my to-do list, and it shows up with all the context of which channel it was, what was the message, etc. The next step is actually just summarize the message, and so that becomes the to-do list item itself. So I found that was even just faster for me. But yes, I guess we're all agreeing that Slack is now the inevitability, and you just have to deal with the 50 inboxes of messages coming from every angle.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you got me started. So the problem we use Asana for project management,
Yep.
and that we focused everything in there, even though the CRM has its own to-do list. We use Asana because it keeps it all in one place. So it is nice that Slack integrates with everybody. So in Slack, I can hover over the message, and the three dots, up pops the menu. I've got push to it, create a task in Asana. So you can create a task in Asana for any Slack message. The problem is we start using Slack with the unread messages as a to-do list. And then if you accidentally click on something and go away and it's no longer read, you lose and you can't remember where it was because we have 45 Slack channels. Every client has a Slack channel. Every group and category has a Slack channel. You can't remember where you were, and there's just too many lists. My email box is a list. My CRM's got a list. Asana's got a list. Slack's got a list, and then Evernote's got a list. So I'm working off too many to-do lists. And Eden, you drive me crazy. All right. This was good, though. Really helpful. I hope everyone got a lot out of it. We'll put links to our guest websites. You should check out their products. They're really some super software that you guys and super services you guys should take a look at. And really appreciate your time. And we're going to do this again.
Yeah. Thanks, Craig, for setting this up. I really appreciate it. Very sign of the times that we had to migrate Zoom to Teams and have our new Fireflies join, but this was great.
I might leave everything in, like all of our conversation, like what's going on? It's crashed. I got to stop. Switch.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks,
I love it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Rick.
thanks, Craig.
Have a good one.
Love it. Thanks.
It's Craig again. Here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. AI. Can't stop talking about AI. AI scheduling and email tools are becoming must-haves for time-starved executives. Eden and Riddick shared how tools like Blockit, Fixer, and custom Zapier integrations are saving them multiple hours per day. DIY AI automations are unlocking huge productivity gains. So I shared some stories, and Eden shared some of what she's done, what she's built, custom workflows connecting Fathom, Claude, and Zapier to auto-generate client emails and CRM notes after meetings. And finally, next-gen tools like workflow tools like Gumloop are hinting at a future of AI productivity. So Eden talked about Gumloop, an AI optimized automation builder, which kind of like a Zapier on steroids that could soon outpace Zapier for intelligent task flows across meetings, sales, and support. And that's it. You reached the end of another episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Thanks for listening. But before you go, head to our website, ezragroup.com, and scroll to the bottom of the homepage and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you'll receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.